In our country, we have been seeing another epidemic evolving, the mucormycosis. If you see an All India statistics as of today, 270 lakh persons have been infected, reported positive, and of this 9,000 have got the mucormycosis. So that's a little reassuring that the numbers are not as many as you think they are because of the media reporting that is there. But having said that, it's still alarming, and today the government has made it a notifiable disease. Mycology refers to study of fungi. Mycosis is when there is growth of fungi. Mucormycosis is a particular variety of fungus growing. The fungi, they are widespread. This particular variety of fungus, which in layman's term is called black fungus, is there in the soil, in plants, in vegetations. The spores are all over. When the spores fall somewhere and the atmosphere is conducive for its germination, it will sprout and it will grow into a growth colony of the fungus. This is typical. Now, when does it grow? In a human being. In healthy individuals, it never grows. In healthy individuals, it doesn't have the conducive environment to grow. And what are the conducive environments that you think of? It needs warmth, it needs moisture, it needs glucose, and it needs an acidic environment. So all four are important for it to multiply, germinate, and grow, become a colony and cause disease. But are these sufficient? No, they are not sufficient. There are lots of microorganisms, different types of bacteria, which are normally part of our body microorganisms. They prevent other organisms from thriving there because these are already occupying the space and therefore they cannot thrive. So here, what is happening in corona? When you take antibiotics, it's not only the disease-causing bacteria that are killed, but the useful bacteria, the commensals, are also killed. If it is a broad-spectrum antibiotic, which is usually given in very ill patients, the field is laid bare open for the fungi to come and take over. The kind of cases that got mucormycosis earlier on were diabetics. We have high glucose levels, uncontrolled diabetes with the pH of our blood going into an acidic range. That's conducive for the fungi to grow. But in addition, you need to have a compromised immune status. When you treat corona with steroids, you are suppressing the immune system. And if you have underlying uncontrolled diabetes with ketosis and acidosis, you have the perfect milieu for the thing to multiply. So when you're giving steroids in a diabetic, make sure that the diabetologist or the physician in charge takes care of that diabetes very well and controls it, maybe by giving insulin, maybe upping the dose of the anti-diabetic, but you need to do one of these. The very sick patient who is in an ICU setting can have it in their lungs, they can have it in the sinuses. Sinuses are air spaces in the bones of your face and your skull, in the front of the skull. So what happens when there is infection of these sinuses by the fungi? They get blocked. There is swelling, there is fluid collection. So the sinus then gets filled with the fluid which has the fungi growing in them, maybe an acidic medium there, and it's multiplying. When it multiplies, the whole sinus is clogged with grown fungus. When that happens, infection can straight away go to the cavernous sinus. So from the sinuses, through the veins in the nose, they can go to your cavernous sinus and infect them. That is a dangerous sign. The cavernous sinus is very close to the nerves which connect your eye to the brain, the optic chiasma. So you have reached a stage where there is blurring of vision. It's too late in time. Saving these patients is a real challenge. Mortality is as high as over 90%. But what happens to a patient who's got the corona disease, has had steroids and has gone home after recovering? These patients may also present with the fungal infection. How do they present? The same presentation. Unilateral swelling, unilateral pain and one side pain and deep headache maybe use one side discharge from the nose. The discharge, the nasal discharge may have black or brown coloration to it, and also they will present with sometimes blurring of vision, then it is late. So some swelling in the eye seems to bulge out, again that is a little late sign. So diagnose early, an outpatient usually happens 3 to 4 weeks down the line after having gone from the hospital setting. And that is why it is important that the steroids that are given are not continuously given. It is given for week to 10 days, not more. I have seen patients who have been continuously taking steroid because they were scared. Their physicians have continued, they themselves have continued steroid for 4 weeks. You can't stop steroid suddenly if you've been given for so many days. You need to taper it down. So therefore, make sure the steroid dose is appropriate to your body weight. Make sure that your steroid is given only for a week or 10 days if it is given for corona, and make sure if you have diabetes, it is well controlled. You take care of this, you can prevent the disease from taking over and troubling you. How do you diagnose it early? You have to diagnose it early by looking at the clinical signs. They have headache, especially when they lean forward. And obviously in a ventilated patient, that's not possible. So how do you suspect in a ventilated patient? You look at it from the swelling that is there. If there is a unilateral discharge, and if you expect a certain recovery in a patient and it is not happening, then you think of some other infection, maybe non-bacterial fungal infection, provided the setting is there. So early suspicion, and then you diagnose it using a CT scan. Do we always have to have a CT scan to diagnose this? No. In a clinical setting, in an outpatient, even in a district hospital, you can pick it up. How do you pick it up? You just need a microscope and a swab. In half an hour, you can get the report whether it is fungus, positive or negative. There's one more test that you do, that is the WBC count is checked. Many of these patients, especially the corona patients, have low WBC count, especially the lymphocytes. It's a particular type of white blood cell which is very low in these patients, maybe as low as 6, 7. So this also makes them vulnerable for the fungal infection. So you check this in the patient, he is a vulnerable patient. So therefore, then you get a swab. If the swab is also positive, it confirms your diagnosis. But once diagnosed, then what do you do? There are two parts of the treatment. One part is the medical part. The other part is the surgical part. Surgical part is when you've missed it and it has got worse. Medical part is when you treat it using the antifungal agents. The antifungal agent, which is classically described for this, was called amphotericin B. It's a very efficient antifungal agent, but with one major drawback. It affects kidney function. So it's nephrotoxic, toxic to the kidneys. So if you give amphotericin regular variety to these patients, which is very efficient, it works well, but you have to modify it according to the kidney function test. You look at the creatinine, you look at the urea, and plan a dosage schedule according to that. Now, even with all these precautions, you're likely to have significant kidney damage. Therefore, this particular drug have been modified to form a liposomal amphotericin B. They are less toxic to the kidneys. They don't affect the kidneys as much. So they are kidney protective, and therefore they are very efficient. If you have this situation early on corrected, very well, very good. If you reach the stage where the fungus has grown into a large mass, then the large mass will kill the normal blood circulation, invade the veins, invade the vessels, and kill the blood supply. When the blood supply is killed, you will have dead tissue. You remove all devitalized tissue, all dead tissue, all dead fungi that you see there, remove all the spores, wash it out nicely with antiseptic solution, and continue amphotericin B, and that's reasonably curative. So the mortality when you pick it up late is as high as 90%, but when you pick it up in time is less than 50%. So therefore, there is reasonable hope in curing these patients. So if you saw the number of cases that were there, I mentioned 9,000 out of 27 million. So it comes to 0.03% cases. It's a very small number. But we need to be careful with this and treat these patients adequately. Prevent it by making sure that sugar is controlled well, steroid is not given too long, the right doses of steroid, stopping steroid in the right time, and early index of suspicion to pick up a case of mucormycosis early on and diagnose it and start treating early on.